Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew: Keith Johnson,
How's it going, folks?
Alan Seiler,
You don't have a quote from the episode?
Not tonight.
Heath, you have disappointed me. Well, I have one. Here we go. This pillow is the manifestation of someone's creative impulse. This pillow is theater. Actually, this is an ugly pillow.
Okay, I was gonna say that. I didn't want to offend because that was also in the show.
It was, exactly.
and Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
And Alan, you got some news this week.
We have news for the first time in a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a couple of things. One is Veronica made me aware like an hour ago that we have now found out that Strange New Worlds is going to be in the later half of 2026. We still don't know exactly when, but it's going to be later in the year. We were thinking it might be, not too far after Academy ends, maybe summer or something, but it looks like now it's going to be in, I don't know, later in the year, but not anytime soon. So we've got a big gap in between the two. Who knows if there's something that's going to fill that, like as a surprise or something? Don't know.
It better be airing around September 8th.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it better have a very special episode.
Right. And in related news, I guess it was yesterday, it was announced that our current show, Starfleet Academy, has completed filming on season 2, which means that now the production moves into the post-production stage, which includes, unnecessary things like editing and special effects and scoring and, those things that
Right.
just make it look pretty and sound pretty and, unessential.
Yeah, and I expect it won't be too long before we find out what's going to happen next, because
Yes.
as we all know, like Kurtzman's second 5-year contract is up for renewal this year. There's also new owners of Star Trek, of Paramount Plus, right? So they've already sort of wiped the slate clean on the movie front and brought in their own guys. So I guess
Yeah.
it remains to be seen if they're going to continue this ongoing production they already have and let the
Yeah.
Star Trek train keep rolling, or if they're going to wipe the slate clean and start with something different.
Yeah.
Or do no Star Trek. That's also a possibility.
Boo. Yeah,
Well,
right.
and in a story that may have an impact on exactly what you're talking about, this may shape the future in some way. Just this afternoon, there's a big development in a bidding war that's been going on for a little while for the ownership of Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And the two leading contenders were Netflix and Paramount. This afternoon, Netflix has backed out. So it is now looking like Paramount is basically going to win the bid. Netflix backed out because the last bid that Paramount placed was a little too rich for Netflix to match.
Mm-hmm.
So they have now backed out. They have said, we were looking forward to being, partners with Netflix and continuing partners with Warner Brothers and continuing and being the caretakers of Warner Brothers' rich legacy and history. But they are now out. So it's now only a matter of signing the contract, and then Paramount will be the new owners of Warner Brothers. And that is a very interesting proposition.
Yeah, they're still going to have to get through FCC approval.
Exactly.
And I know there's a lot of lawmakers that see this as more like a monopoly situation.
Mhm.
Exactly also.
But they're pretty cozy. The owners, the Ellisons, are pretty cozy with the current, I'll say, regime that's in power.
Mhm.
So, I mean, who knows what happens next? But
Right.
yeah, it's definitely an interesting development.
It really is. And if this goes through, I mean, it's going to change the game in some way. We have no way of knowing exactly how, but it's going to be interesting.
Right. All right. Well, Keith, do you have some This Week in Trek this week?
I do. Let's see what we got real quick. I got a few things. Okay. 23rd of February, 1967. One of my favorite episodes. I think we talked about briefly last week. That was the first airing of, we did it. Talked about last week. A Taste of Armageddon.
Okay.
Which, of course, the famous disease, death, destruction. It's the one that a lot of people quote. The computer war. Interesting. If you follow the news today, you've probably heard that our Secretary of Defense, I will not call him Secretary of War, is threatening to cut ties with Anthropic, a major AI company, because what it boils down to is they won't open up security to let the Department of Defense do whatever they want to with their AI. Some of the discussions they had was Anthropic is concerned that the government would start using AI to actually fire weapons without human control. That's a problem.
Yeah.
They're also concerned that the safety, they're known for being very safety conscious. The government wants them to relax that a little bit. I can't think of anything more relevant than the Star Trek episode, The Taste of Armageddon, in which they created a world in which computers fought their wars for them.
Right. Given the state of the news today, I'm just glad it wasn't disintegration chambers.
Which you walk into really gladly, right?
Right.
Hey, some days.
24th of February, 1986, jumping forward 20 years. Probably the favorite episode by non-fans and some fans of the original series. Filming began February 24th, 1986 on The Voyage Home.
Okay.
Star Trek, The Voyage Home.
I love the one with the whales.
I do too.
And that's what they call it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm very odd. My favorite of all the OS movies is the Search for Spock, but I know for most
I
people,
love that one too.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
The whales is just fun.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fun in a way that the other ones weren't.
Right. Okay, now jump back to 1967, 27th of February, because this year we get into a lot of stuff like this, but this is 1967. On 27th of February, New York Times published the TV This Week column, and it listed on Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, a new series called Star Trek is premiering. Such an odd time, 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And
but
Tuesdays.
There were more half-hour shows, it seemed like, in those days.
Yeah.
So maybe that's I didn't check to see what the lead-in was. I don't think the news was 7 o'clock back then, so I don't know what the lead-in. No, it would have been. That would have been prime time.
Okay.
So not sure what that was.
Gonna bomb in the ratings.
Yeah. And the last one, I typically don't do deaths and I typically don't do something sad, but I think it applies especially for tonight. 11 years ago, 27th of February, we lost Leonard Nimoy.
Oh.
And I remember because I was at work when the news came that he passed, and it was a rough day. But in light of the episode we're reviewing today, I also thought it was appropriate to read his final words, which he posted on the 23rd of February. And it must be so weird to know you're dying, because that's what he's posted. His last quote to the world post was, "Life is like a garden, perfect moments that can be had but not preserved, except in memories. Live long and prosper, Leonard Nimoy." And given the topic tonight.
Right. Yeah. And celebrity deaths don't always get to me, but Leonard Nimoy's death certainly did.
Absolutely. It was a beautiful, and I also find it ironic that a man who came to hate his role and then re-embrace his role, the last words the world heard from him was literally the letters LLAP. Amazing. That's This Week in Trek History.
Well, thank you for that. So yeah, this week we're talking about Starfleet Academy, episode 8, The Life of the Stars. So spoiler alert for The Life of the Stars. And we've got a couple of comments. Alan, do you want to have some comments before we get into it?
Cool.
Elaine says that she loves Sam and loved that whole thing with the pillow.
Nice.
My pleasure, Elaine. Matt says, I love Star Trek 4. I also love Star Trek 1, 2, 3, and 6. Poor
Hey, you
Star
left
Trek
one out.
5. And then about Leonard Nimoy, he says, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah, rough one.
All right. Well, The Life of the Stars. It got a little heavier this week. I mean, something that I had mentioned last week was that the sort of lighthearted episode we got as a follow-up to the dramatic episode was nowhere near the level of family. And I think that they sort of throw us a curveball by doing a lighthearted episode in between, because this week they really went for that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, this was heavy.
Yeah, all the way across the board. I mean, what did you guys think of it?
I loved it.
Did you?
And I felt like, because like last week it felt like 2 B plots, and this week it felt like 2 A plots, and I felt like they gave enough meat to both of them. where one didn't feel lesser than the other.
Okay. What about you, Keith?
A couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I seem to be the only person who wasn't moved by the DS9 / Cisco tribute. And I've spent the last 2 weeks thinking about it. Subjective taste is subjective taste. It just
Sure.
didn't move me.
Okay.
People online are still crying about it. I didn't get it. I cried tonight. And this is a strong candidate for best episode of the series so far. It was no shade at all against that other episode, but because I didn't go in expecting that show to move me. I go in blind. This did everything to me that episode didn't do. It was, and I really think that's a credit to the great writing, the great and the sensitive directing. And my gosh, the actors who played the Doctor, the Chancellor, Sam, and Tarima, my gosh, did they knock it out of the park.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What you, Alan?
I am really impressed with this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And there are very specific things about it that I want to talk about later on. But just in the overall, this I thought was really moving. And it really hit me. And I'm just so impressed that they pulled this kind of thing off in an unexpected week. And it feels like, I was saying, I don't remember when, a few weeks ago, that it was kind of a prediction, a 2-part finale. And this feels like the chapter that you get before a big end. So
Right.
I really bet you that 9 and 10 are going to be a connected storyline.
Yeah.
Because this feels like a pause, but also a setup. It feels like a way of dealing with some things before you get into the big action pieces. So I feel like this is really where the season arc for the characters kind of comes to a resolution. And then from here on, it's going to be Caleb's story dealing with his mother, who we all know is going to be working with
Yes.
Paul Giamatti. And
Right.
come on, you just know it.
Right.
So, they're setting up all these other characters to kind of get them to a place of resolution before they move into the Caleb heavy storyline with lots of action. So yes, I'm really, really love this episode.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And I feel like the drama and the trauma they went through is earned. That's something that we saw on screen, and they've really invested the time in the characters that I really felt affected by the things that were going on. And I love that they even circled back to some of the Doctor's experiences on Voyager, because one of the things we talked about plenty of times is that the nature of the episodic shows was that you could have a life-changing traumatic experience, and then next week we're fighting the Hirogen, and it's sort of forgotten, right?
Yeah.
But circling back to some of the things that happened on that show and how it has affected his character, I think is really powerful. And I mean, and they end up in sort of a faster than time kind of a situation. We've seen that plenty of times on Star Trek, and in the old Star Treks, whether it's Hard Time or Inner Light, week to week, it doesn't make any difference to the character, right? They're going to be reset by the end.
Yes.
And we've seen it one time already before with Prodigy, where Rock Talk's little time in the accelerated time zone really affected her character and changed her course. And I think that's going to be the case here for both of these characters. And I love that. That's certainly a strength of the newer Star Treks, is that you don't have that same pressure to reset to the default every week for the characters, and you can let the experience that they go through have an effect on them. And I thought they gave Robert Picardo some of the best material he's ever had as the Doctor.
This is exactly why he came back. This is the reason he came back.
Right.
This episode.
And I even really enjoyed. I love seeing Tilly back. I thought she was a great addition, and she stepped back in like she had never left.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the mechanism of the theater class in Star Trek, right?
Yes.
Because it makes perfect sense. Like, of course, James T. Kirk did a theater class or two when he was at the Academy, right? Like, you can't. And I love equating it to statecraft, because the way that they have to deliver speeches and perform, I think it makes perfect sense. Now, Veronica, you were a theater major.
Yeah.
You have a couple of theater degrees.
Yep.
So what did you think of the inclusion of the theater class?
I was very excited when they're like, it's theater, and I'm like, yay! And I was very excited to see where they were going to go with that. And our town was actually the first play I saw at my first college. I was not in it or involved in it, but I don't remember it at all. This was like 2003. But I really liked how they tied in the story of that with all of these characters. Like every single one of them had a relationship to something in the story, even if it wasn't a specific character. And several of them, it was a specific character, but like the way a specific character was thinking of something, it related back to their story. I really like that a lot.
Yes, and that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. First of all, I just want to say that seeing Tilly back made me absolutely giddy.
Mhm.
I was so thrilled. And you know, we knew from the previews that this was going to be happening, so I knew she was coming back this week. But
Right.
seeing her back on screen and in action just thrilled me to no end, because that is a character that I have loved, and I was so happy to see her back. But to what Veronica's talking about, I just want to say, since we're already on the subject, I just want to say how great it was that they used that play and connected it to all these characters. But the thing that really, really impressed me was the way that it played into Sam's story, to the point where the Doctor is talking about the absence of color in a character's arc, and it has a chance to truly look back. That's when color comes back into their life. And when they go into the thing where Sam comes to Kasq, it's in black and white.
Right.
And I thought at the time when I first saw it that was a really clever use of color, to not have color. But I didn't think, I don't know, maybe I didn't hear, because I was working at the same time I was watching the episode, and I think I missed the lead in to that. When I rewatched it later this afternoon and I caught all the stuff that the Doctor was saying about the play, I was like, that's why they did those scenes in black and white. And it's not until she is reborn and starts her growing up that they introduce color again.
Right.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was so well done. And I have more to say that. But
Charles, to dovetail what you said about how those shows are not obligated to do follow-ups, because even now that they're not. I mean, Deep Space Nine is still, and maybe Discovery are still most serialized. But we got a gem years ago in Family with TNG. And even folks who loved the last few episodes more than I did had mentioned, even those who really, really loved the DS9 tribute, they were kind of saying after the other one, well, we didn't get anything quite on the level of a Family.
Right.
Well,
I said that last week.
Yeah, exactly. And people were saying that, and who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? I mean, if they had been, we had been talking to the showrunners, I guess they would have said, hold our beer or just wait. Because, wow, did we get a good one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to call myself out and say I've never heard of Our Town until today.
really?
And
I have.
it must not have spaceships in it, because it was off my radar.
100% no.
But I didn't think that detracted from my enjoyment of the episode. Like they gave me enough information to figure out what's going on all the way through. I didn't feel like I was missing a piece by not being familiar with that play.
Yes.
I also really like how it was not Shakespeare or any other play-like thing that they have ever done in Star Trek before, but it was a fairly well-known play nonetheless. So it was very impressive that they managed to tie in all the characters. It's a well-known play, but not something they've already used in Star Trek. So those three things came together very nice.
It's definitely an American standard.
Yes.
But as you say, it's not Shakespeare. And, you know, thank goodness for that, because enough.
Yes.
Enough with the Shakespeare.
Right.
Veronica, you'll probably get a kick out of the fact that when I was watching the show and she said, we're going to do theater, I literally yelled, oh, no. I thought it was going to be a musical or something.
Oh, no.
But you can totally buy Tilly as the theater class instructor.
Yeah. Yeah. She wasn't on screen as much as I thought, but when expected, but when she was on, she was good. And they did a very good, subtle growth in Tilly. She's still kind of that fun-loving lady she used to be, but you can tell she's been through stuff. And like when she was getting with Tarima, she was gentle but firm. And a very interesting. She always had a little smile, but it was kind of like, okay, do you want to be here or not? I love that. She showed growth. You can believe she's been through some stuff. And of course, she's been on Discovery. So when people say, you don't know what I'm going through, she's What if
Yeah.
she and Jet know what they're going through?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
love that she had that comment about she's been off working with the third years. And so
Yeah.
they're not ignoring that academy class that started during Discovery, that was before they came back to Earth and all that. Like
Yes.
they're still out there. That's all still going on. And then this is the first class we can presume that has started back on Earth,
Mhm.
right? So it's
Right.
but I love that that's not a reset. Like it explains what
Mhm.
Tilly's still been working with the academy. She's just not been here at the San Francisco campus.
Yeah. I just want to say, Mary Wiseman was amazing
Mhm.
in this episode. Maybe she didn't get as much screen time as we were thinking she would, being her only episode in the season. But I
Mhm.
mean, as an instructor that's coming into a group of students that she has not met before and using a play as a therapeutic
Mhm.
diagnostic kind of thing, I thought she was really great.
Mhm.
And she would be sensitive, but then she would be stern when she needed to be stern in a nice way.
Mhm.
Like Tarima, when Tarima really starts to first kind of crack open just a little bit, and she calls out the thing of the bull squat trauma,
Yeah.
and Tilly smiles and she says, "You're flying a little too close to the wind there, Miss Tarima."
Mhm.
And she backs down and she goes,
Mhm.
"Sorry, Lieutenant." And I just thought that was it's such a small moment, but I thought it was really well
Mhm.
played.
I also noticed how Tilly still got the two actual bad words, with the exception of the bull hockey. And then she was like, nope, nope. But she got some words in there in the episode.
And it makes sense thematically because we were introduced to Tilly as a cadet
Mhm.
way back in, 9 years ago now on Discovery. And I think it sort of brings that character full circle to see her back
Yeah.
at the Academy, on the Academy show as an instructor.
Yeah.
Do you want to catch up with some comments before
I
we
was
move
just going to say, we've got a lot coming
Yeah.
in. So Matt Sweatman says, "I like that the writers understood the seriousness of the subject matter and toned down the modern slang."
Mhm.
Yeah.
There was still a bit much, but
Yeah. Too much modern slang for me, but it didn't ruin the show.
he also says, "I wish, since Tilly was limited to the B story, she could have hung around for another episode or two."
I agree.
I mean, I
Right.
want her to be a regular in the series, so
And
I'll take anything I get of her.
I
To
disagree
quickly-
with the B story part. though.
Yeah, I'm
Well-
not sure it was a B story because
Yeah.
sort of the other story sort of grew out of this one. And I'm not sure that
Yes.
it was necessarily A and B this time. It was
No, I think it was A and A,
right.
as
Yeah.
Veronica said earlier.
it was kind of a counterpoint to the one, Charles, you said it was two B stories mashed together, because each one of these stories could have been its own complete episode,
Mhm.
which I found is interesting.
Right.
And they kind of were, because through the narrative of the play, they were so intermeshed
Mhm.
Mhm.
that it really was basically kind of almost like one A story, just told in two separate parts.
Like
Yeah.
the OS used to be,
Just
that I
a
loved.
brilliant episode. Elaine says, "Oh, and seeing Tilly give Reno a big hug was great."
Yeah.
Agreed. Matt says, "Characters practicing theater and listening to opera, it felt like we were back in the TNG days." Oh, I got things to say about that too.
Mhm.
Elaine says, "As someone who has seen only a few episodes of Voyager, I'm not familiar with the Doctor's past, but they did a brilliant job of showing the love and pain that he had been through."
Mhm.
So I didn't feel like if you had missed any part of Voyager, you wouldn't feel it.
Right.
Yeah. Vandy Beth, hi Vandy Beth, says, "I just finished the episode. Golly." Elaine chimes in and says, "I did catch that she's with the Academy, but with the third years. So maybe we'll see her more as this class progresses on."
Mhm.
That's possible.
How many
And
years
then we-
did they usually spend in the academy?
4.
Four. And then Vandy Beth wraps us up by saying, "Whichever character said, 'Why does a Starfleet officer need to study theater?' obviously never saw TNG."
Right. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. I totally buy that Starfleet officers are theater kids, because we've seen that plenty of times where they're ready to perform. They're going to put on a play in their spare time, or
Play musical instruments.
some level of performance, or just in the course of their job. I love equating theater with statecraft,
Yes.
because you've got to inspire the troops. You've got to make speeches to alien planets. There's a lot of skills that you learn in theater class that are applicable in the real world, in our real world, but also obviously in the Star Trek real world.
And improv too.
Mhm.
Because I'm thinking of those episodes of, particularly of TNG, where you're in the middle of a mission and they have this thing where they always reveal in the episode that there was like a signal that they gave to the others, and you have to not only recognize that signal, but then play a role as part of the plot that you're going with. And so, yes, I think theater is a definite for these kids. Plus, I just want to say that we've talked about not seeing enough of the characters in class. So I was very, very thrilled with being able to spend the whole episode of them in class. I loved it that it was a class that they didn't understand why they were taking, but they got to it throughout the episode. Great stuff.
To dovetail again what you said, Charles, and I'm going to have to refer to real life again. Over the last several months, our administration has been literally banning books in the military, not even the regular life, but the military college. Books dealing with LGBTQ, books dealing with women, books dealing with people of color, books dealing with history that the president and the Secretary of Defense don't like. They're gone. And this is a big deal. It's going throughout the military academies. I say that for a reason, because what you said about a play having something to do with the military and statecraft, we are now in an administration where it's all about quote unquote war, like the war college might be. It's all about producing soldiers and killers. And as they talked about a play, I wrote down in my notes, but what are you fighting for? What do you form a federation and a Starfleet for? What are you protecting? You're protecting the little people every day. You're protecting the right to marry whom you want. You're protecting a world where people can just sit and look at the sun at night. You're protecting a world in which people can make plays that make you cry, that quote unquote don't have any useful function. That's what Starfleet is. That's what Federation is. That's what Gene Roddenberry wanted. Anybody can make a show about heavy science fiction, a show about warriors, a show about technology. Star Trek was all about, what are we protecting? What are we supposed to be? The future of Star Trek is not about technology. It's about humans being human. And I could not help but think about what's going on in the real world, where they're using a play to train them to protect a dangerous galaxy. And that's amazing.
And Matt says, preach, Keith.
Thanks, Matt. My daddy was a preacher, Matt.
And I thought it was pretty fitting that Tarima has made the transition from the War College to Starfleet Academy, and day one she's in theater class, which must be a whiplash change for her from what she's accustomed to. But we're already just about at the halfway point of the show. Do we want to go ahead and take a break, because we got a lot a lot to say.
I know, right? Wow.
Right. Here we go.
Now, last week, I think we were all a little underwhelmed by the episode, right? It was a little lighthearted. Felt like it was it was skipping over some of the follow-up to the previous episode, which was pretty heavy and action-packed. What do you think about that decision? Do you think that was a smart choice to give us a more lighthearted episode in between these two episodes? Or do you think that it would have been better with this episode having been the follow-up to the big trauma episode?
Okay, let me just be honest about this.
Okay.
I don't remember what the hell happened last week. I honestly don't. Like, it has not stuck in my head at all.
There was a all worlds day, and Mir and Genesis were there by themselves, and she was trying to steal something.
Yeah, and then you had the muck time where nothing happened.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Which they actually needed to have Remy's character tie into the play in this one.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the show is
exactly.
The show is so kind of bland that people online spent a whole bunch of time saying they were distracted by the grading that Caleb and Sam laid on, because one little circular piece in the middle didn't meet the pattern. Okay. That's how distracted people were at that. I'm always a fan of following a tough. It's cool to change tones, but sometimes you can change tone from incredible violence, but still be deeply dramatic, which is what, again, TNG did with The Best of Both Worlds and Family. So I would have preferred this episode followed the other episode.
Okay.
And I last week seemed like an anomaly outside of everything else anyway.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know if I agree with that, but I can see what you're saying about that. The one of the things that I was really impressed with this episode was that when Tilly is asking all the students their reaction to different lines or scenes in our town, it gave each one of them, even though the story in this episode is firmly about Sam, the doctor, and Tarima, it gave the other characters a chance to, kind of reflect their own story and how it plays a part in our town, and being able to give Darum that scene and it's a short scene, it's a little thing, it's one line of dialogue,
Yeah.
talking about the thing that he had just gone through in the last episode was really great character work and really great. And in an episode that isn't his, he still gets a moment that furthers his character story. So well done. And I don't know, I kind of feel like it kind of works narratively where you have that trauma. And my complaint was that it missed a month, because last week's episode picked up 1 month after the Miyazaki situation, and you missed some of that stuff. But we actually did get it finally,
Right.
and we got it in the sense of Tarima coming back and Sam's glitches becoming to the point where it had to be dealt with. And in that sense, I understand now why they laid the season out the way that they did.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't really decided, because on the one hand, I feel like having that little breather in between maybe is needed. But like I said, last week was probably my least favorite episode of the season.
Right.
And this one may be my favorite episode of the season, so I don't know. But no, I think that they're doing a really good job with the characters. I feel like I'm really invested in them, and they're really putting the time in to really write interesting characters and having them go through things.
At least in last week's episode, even though it may have been a little more lighthearted and it separates the heavy episode this week from the trauma that was induced 2 weeks ago, they at least addressed it, in dialogue. They at least had the chancellor say something about, these kids are going through so much last week. So it wasn't like it was ignored.
Right.
It was still a present factor. And I think that narratively it works. Once you see all the episodes the way that they are laid out, I feel like it kind of works.
Yeah.
So I'm on board again.
Okay.
Last week derailed me for a moment, but I'm back in.
Right. Another question. Do you think they're using this atrium set too much?
Yes.
Yes.
The atrium is the laser tag court. It's the debate hall. It's the alien planet. It's like we finally get to see Kasq, and it's the atrium again.
Exactly.
And apparently the doctor spending 17 years raising Sam is them two walking around the atrium holding hands. And I think they're spending like $20 million an episode on these episodes.
Where's that going to go?
Well,
Costumes?
I think a lot of it is going to cast salaries and the 25 executive producers. But I mean, I know they invested a lot in this set. This is really the first time it really felt to me like, can we get off this atrium?
Yeah. I mean, I was looking forward to seeing a little more of Kasq.
Right.
Without a doubt. But I like the way that they did it. I like we don't grant access to our planet. Sure. That makes sense for who the Kaskians are. But still, I would like to have seen more.
Right. Was it me, or was Kasq a multifaceted planet, not a sphere? Didn't I see that?
Yeah, it was. No, that's like a shield that closes when the ship approaches, so that they can't get in.
Okay.
Oh, I missed that completely. I thought the planet looked like the Bizarro world from the Superman comic books.
Yeah, I also thought that Kasq was like a weird geometric shape, so I didn't know also that it's a shield.
I think it was the second time I watched it that I realized that the sides that were exposed to the camera are closing in as the ship approaches.
Right.
So it's basically closing themselves off.
Even that, though, I mean, it's sort of like you see that weird geometric shape. You're like, ooh, what's in there?
Yes.
It's the atrium.
So, right.
Yeah. I always go in these episodes blind. So I just knew Mary Weissman was in it, and I didn't know anything else. But I will say the first note I took was as the very first scene of showing, I don't know what those buildings are that float over the bay, but the first scene with the doctor's musings and stuff, I was like, wow, this show's getting off to a good start. Beautiful cinematography there. And listen to Robert Picardo. And I made a note, he talked about something he said something to the effect, paraphrasing greatly, of always being awake while others wake up. Does he not sleep anymore? Does he not dream? I wonder, because he experimented with such things on Voyager. I wonder if he doesn't sleep at all or dream. I know Data experimented with dreaming. I don't know if the
Yes.
Doctor actually experimented with sleeping or dreaming. So
I don't think
God.
so.
Yeah, I think most of the Doctor was just either on or off.
Yes.
Right.
Wow.
Yes.
Um.
And now it seems like he's perpetually on.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little about the Doctor though, because we really. Oh, yes,
I
Veronica.
have something related to what Keith said.
Go right ahead.
That is also about
What's
the
that?
Doctor.
What's that?
So I don't know if you guys noticed, but when the Doctor's opening speech, it had that nice kind of music in the background, but it faded out before he finished. And
Okay.
his line after the music ended was, "Her mind and spirit will likely take more time."
Yes.
I thought that was really pretty and
Nice.
cool, because a lot of the time the music will like end as the
Mhm.
thought ends and it moves into the next scene, but it like stopped to emphasize that part of the
Okay.
of his speech.
Yeah.
That's a good observation.
Personal note, whenever you have that conversation with people who like science fiction fantasy have, would you ever like to live forever?
No.
I think Matt Sweatman said no, and I've always said yes, believe it or not. But you watch shows like I love the TV series Highlander and stuff like that. And I remember when I was younger and I'd watch shows like that, I would think, gosh, who wouldn't want to live forever? But then when you look at stuff like Requiem for Methuselah in the original series or The Doctor, you see that being immortal could actually sometimes not be all that desirable.
Yeah.
Because he's closed himself off from a lot of, well, both love and pain over the last 800 years.
Sure. And that's something that he had talked about prior to the show in interviews, was that, the Doctor has outlived everyone he's ever known, but he doesn't have a biological memory. He has a digital memory. And so those memories don't fade with time. Right. So it's every death that he's gone through is like it happened yesterday.
That's wild.
And I like that they went back to that episode Real Life. And they sort of, I don't think the implication is supposed to be that the events of that episode caused him to never form attachments again. But I think it was maybe one of the first real losses that he experienced was with that fake family. And they touched on he acted like he lived there for a lifetime. I think it was like 3 years in the episode. But the super fast time planet, the blink of an eye planet,
Love that
Daniel Day
episode.
Kim was from,
Yeah.
right, where he spent several years there and had a family, and then got beamed out one day and never saw them again.
Yeah, they never addressed that either, right?
Right. And you
He had
never
a
mentioned
kid.
it again on the show, right?
Yeah.
He was a stepfather to some kid for 3 years, and then one day he got beamed back to the ship, and it never comes up again.
And stuff like that makes me, again, it made me, what you're saying, Charles, it made me write down questions that are not complaints or nitpicks. They're truly musings. Has the Doctor not had another family in 800 years? Has he never married? And
We don't know that for sure.
Yeah, Elaine, a little spoiler for you, but in the alternate future of Voyager's ending, the Doctor had a wife. And now we don't know what kind of relationships he's had. Is he in and out? Has he never adopted another kid? And also you said something I hadn't thought about, Charles. You said he remembers everybody who dies. I kept thinking about Friends, but what about as a Doctor? How many people he hasn't saved or can't save over the centuries?
Sure, yeah.
That's a lot.
Right.
Okay, can we get some comments?
Please.
Because we got a lot. Matt Sweatman says TNG didn't have a lighthearted episode between Best of Both Worlds and Family, and they had more episodes to play with.
True.
Elaine says, I don't mind the separation between the two episodes. Darum actually mentioned about getting married in this episode, so it added more to the lesson he had to learn from the play. Matt says, there was a lot of acknowledging grief and mental health, and that is good to see.
Right.
He says, the atrium is a real-life holodeck.
Right.
He also says, when they passed through the shield, I had Voyager, or flashbacks to V'ger.
Okay.
Yeah, true. Elaine says, now I have Queen's Who Wants to Live Forever in my head.
Highlander.
And never a bad thing, tell you.
Yeah.
Right.
And Jordan says, honestly, I'm glad they went back to real life, but I thought they were finally going to get some answers about why he won't talk about Gwen. Oh, yeah, of Gwen. If they don't close the loop on that, I will be so sad.
So that's actually Holly Jordan. I don't know why her name comes up like that, but it's Holly Jordan.
Well, welcome
That's
to
her
the
screen. That's her.
I know.
Name.
Yeah.
Maybe her middle initial is A. Holly A. Jordan.
Probably.
Anyway, I just want to say that as soon as Sam, first of all, I want to say Sam giving us a little bit more information about Kasq's situation
Mhm.
was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed that. As soon as she mentioned that Kasq is on an accelerated time frame, I immediately thought of the episode, whatever it's called, Half-Life, I guess it was. And the doctor talked about that. Oh, when I was on Voyager, we encountered a planet like that, and I
It
thought
was
that's really cool.
It was blink of an eye
Then,
or a wink of an eye.
blink of an eye.
what? Yeah, whatever. Then at the end of the episode, or farther in, those big flashbacks to real life, I did
Mhm.
not see that coming at all,
Right.
and I was really surprised that they kind of went that deep and used that as a real strong storytelling mechanism for the Doctor now.
Yeah.
That was that was great. I loved that.
And that's
Yes.
really the second time on the show that they've done that. They leaned real heavy on the legacy Trek,
Yeah.
but to inform the story that's going on now.
Mhm.
Right. So it's not just member berries for member berries. But it's using the history of Star Trek to tell the story about these current
Yeah.
characters. And I think
It's-
that
yeah.
really works.
It's not just what.
Yeah.
Member
Member
berries. You
berries.
ever heard of the term member berries?
Member berries, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
wow.
10 seconds for Elaine, who hasn't seen the episode. Elaine, there's a Voyager episode where the Doctor was getting his sentience. He wanted to experience real life. He created a family for himself on a holodeck, and they were like a Leave It to Beaver family. B'Elanna Torres, in a move that I still am pissed at her about, tells him he doesn't have a real family. He lets her reprogram it to be real life, and she basically he loses a child in there, and it's a heart-wrenching episode.
Don't spoil everything for her. Come on.
Well, she already saw what happened. He
I
said
mean-
he lost a daughter. And it's a heart-wrenching
but-
episode.
Yeah.
And you also said something, Charles, I hadn't thought about, because I'm thinking, so losing that fictional child, which is still real to him 800 years ago, does that mean he's never had another family or child? I'm curious, what has he been doing then? Does he always stop himself from going too far with
I don't know.
love?
Yeah, I mean, I
Something
know
like
that
it.
he's been close to other people since that episode because he was on
Yeah.
Voyager.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I can see that as something that's sort of like where something he would reach back to of that time that he tried to have a family, or the times, because he referenced two of them in this episode. But I mean, but even coworkers, friends that he's lost over the years, and like as you mentioned, patience.
Yeah.
I mean, it weighs on you, and that's something that has
Yeah.
sort of been his story up to this point. I was also glad that because I've been mentioning every week that I want to see more of the like how do the holograms work, right?
See,
the
the
nerd
whole
in
emitter.
So they mentioned the emitter, and
Yeah.
then when they reset Sam, there was a little device,
Which is her
and she
emitter.
started from the device, and so I feel
Yeah.
a little better now just knowing there is an emitter. And or what did you think of the conceit that it wasn't really the technology that
Mhm.
disrupted her, but just the fact that she didn't have an upbringing to where she knew how to handle trauma,
She didn't have the programming
right? Like
That's-
yeah,
because
That's-
they didn't know about the programming.
right.
That's classic Trek. The one of my
Yeah.
favorite episodes of all Star Trek, The Offspring, when Data created his daughter Lal. She had an emotional breakdown because her circuits couldn't handle the emotion.
Yeah.
Back to
Yeah.
the original series, Reyna, the android that Flint created.
Yeah.
She broke down because she was only alive for a few hours or days, and she couldn't yet handle emotion. It
Yeah.
actually made sense, and it made Star Trek / science fiction sense, what they said. That
Yeah.
actually made sense. And they also addressed something we had talked about. Because remember, I kept babbling about, well, why didn't they just give her fake memories? Why didn't they just make her? And they're like, well, we want to make her completely new, but it never crossed their mind that out in the real world, she's still a baby for all her knowledge, that something like this might happen to her. I was impressed.
Yeah. But now they have to follow this up with
Mhm.
at least a little bit of a change in her personality, because she's
Yes.
coming back a different person. She's coming
Absolutely.
back having grown up. But I want to say, spending 17 years on Kasq with just the Doctor, is that a real childhood? I mean, if you're not going to school, if you're not getting into a fight, if you're not getting bullied by somebody, if you're not forming a best friend, if you're not going to,
That's a
you
good
know,
point.
classmate's birthday party, is that really a childhood that's going to satisfy the fix of the technology? I don't know. I mean, there seems like there's a lot missing there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be very interested to see what they do with her personality, because so much of
Agreed.
her personality was her being excited about all these new things. And now she's had the experiences she had in those 209 days plus 17 years.
Right.
how is that going to? Is she going to be a lot calmer and a lot chiller, and everyone's gonna be like, "Who are you? Why are you? I don't like you as much because you're not as much fun."
To an extent, but like Alan said, if her childhood was hanging out in a reproduction of the atrium with the Doctor, then there's a lot of stuff that will still be new. You look.
Yeah. But here's the thing. When she comes back, her hair is very different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's our first clue to the fact that she is going to have a changed personality coming back, in going forward in the series, because she's not got the super crazy, decorative, like flamboyant hairstyles anymore. She's now got a much more traditional look, and I think that's going to be reflective of some of the things that she's gone through now.
And in addition to that, though, I mean, as of next week, the Doctor is basically her father.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a big change of dynamic for the show and for those two characters, especially.
And for his character too. Yes.
Her mother, because she was there as well.
Well, she didn't hang out with him though. She was like, "I'm gonna go wait on the ship."
I thought she was there because
it
seemed like at the end she was expressing that she was gone for 17 years. It seems like that's what she was saying.
Well, I couldn't get that either. You're right, because she said they lived 17 years, or they lived several years in a couple of weeks, and they said they're not the only ones.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
like you, Veronica, I couldn't get the she.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, was she in that time warp?
Yeah,
for that,
and she's just hanging out by herself, I guess.
She could have been. She's 500 years old.
That's
right. So what's 17
Absolutely.
years?
Exactly.
Yeah, or she could have gone, "I'm going to sit on the ship for 5 days and let you guys do this."
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
I couldn't tell if she meant literally or figuratively. It felt like, but you know what? Here we go again. If they're trying to claim that Aki also sat there for 17 years, I'm not going to nitpick, because good God, didn't DS9 do that every other episode with O'Brien or somebody?
Right.
So I can't complain.
I would like for them to revisit this and maybe find out more things that happened during this childhood than what we saw in the flashbacks. I felt like this is the first one I've really felt like you get it on Star Trek too, but like the budget was sort of hampering what we could have seen on screen, right? I feel like there should be more to her childhood than the Doctor's in his uniform the entire 17 years, and they're just on the standing sets, and she's got a different yellow dress on, and they're walking around,
Yeah,
exactly.
I thought the Doctor was going to, if nothing else, I thought he was going to pull from his memories and create an entire world in that holographic world. That was like real life, like the one from Voyager. I thought he was going to do a simulation like that again, but we didn't see that.
Let me get some comments, because that's addressed. Let's see. Matt says, also different is the Doctor's relationship with Sam. He is in every significant way her father. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Jordan says, I'm sure the Doctor created holodeck simulations for her, a la his lessons for 7 on How to Human.
That's what I think, Jordan. He'd have to.
You probably are right about that.
Yeah, he'd have to.
Elaine says, yes, I noticed her hair was different. And Matt says, I think she's more of an auntie. She gives very strong auntie vibes.
Yeah, your hippie aunt.
Yep. And Bill says, sorry I'm so late. So many computer problems. Oh, sorry to hear that, buddy.
Glad you can make it.
Yeah.
You and Sam both.
Really quickly, I want to point out something that I didn't notice until the second time that I watched this. At the end, we saw when they reset Sam, she starts out as the little emitter, and it's sort of like 3D prints, as the Doctor reaches down and picks it up. And I didn't notice this earlier, but in the when she first starts to glitch out seriously, and she goes to the Doctor, and he scans her, the display shows that shape. So the diagnostic display has the shape of that emitter, and I didn't notice that, and I didn't make that connection until I rewatched it.
Yeah,
because it wouldn't have any reason to be looking
exactly.
at the hologram.
It didn't mean anything at the time. It was just it's there. Yeah,
fascinating. I missed that. That's cool. That's little details like that I love. Real quick, back on the thing with Terima. Again, there is never right or wrong to these things. There are preferences. Because as you again said, Charles, people, a lot of times they ignore trauma. But sometimes in some shows, they drag the stuff on so long. Like I swear to you guys, I was like, please don't have her and Caleb dancing around each other for the rest of the series and all the next season. And I like the way they kind of let them get back together, but they're going to have to form a new relationship because she's wounded and she's changed. They're all changed. I kind of like this. I swear, if they were going to spend the rest of the season making eyes at each other, but not connecting again, it wouldn't bother. You know, it's not that I hate the show, but it wouldn't have been my choice. I thought this was a very
much a '90s trope.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough episodes for that much foolishness. Like, we got to move this thing along.
Yeah.
But it was very mature because you're broken and you've got to form a new. All of them have to form new relationships with themselves, with Starfleet, with their jobs, with their families. That's real life, and I love that.
Yeah. I was a little concerned with Terima. That the way the bunks are set up, you have to climb like over a shelf and a bunk to get onto her bunk. Which, if you're coming back drunk at the academy, like that just seems treacherous to me.
Well, they're supposed to be drinking synthahol, but I'm sure they get the real stuff.
She had the real stuff because it was
she
aged
did.
in wooden casks in space.
Right.
Yes. I want to say that I'm kind of enjoying. First of all, I still love Genesis. She's still one of my favorite characters. I love the bond that seems to be forming between her and Terima,
Yep.
and it's kind of an outgrowth of this trauma situation that Terima is in, and Genesis just seems to be a naturally, I hate to say empathic character. She seems to be somebody who is very sensitive to other people, and not in a telepathic way or anything, but just in like as her emotional intelligence, you know? And I really love that about her.
It also kind of subverts the sort of expected trope of the love triangle, right? Like they're going to be at each other because they both like Caleb because he's the sexy guy on the show.
Yeah, that's true.
But I like seeing them. There's a little of that as they're sort of getting to know each other, but I like that they sort of end up in more of a friendship place.
Yeah. Jordan says, and this is one that I wanted to get back to, I could have watched an entire episode of Jaden explaining Klingon opera. Girl, me too. I was so into that scene, and it was kind of weird that they kind of like wrote Jaden off for the middle half of the episode because he has a cold or whatever. But that thing where he's portraying a scene out of an opera was great. I love the whole idea of Klingon opera, and I want to see more of that from him, more of those kinds of things from him.
He's a very interesting Klingon because he renounces violence, but he is still a Klingon, like, wanting to eat something that was freshly killed and really getting into the violence. I mean, he was the way he was basically romanticizing the blood and gore and the testicles.
Yeah.
That's a Klingon right there. I don't know what else.
Yes.
What else he thinks, man, he sure is in his culture, because that was wild.
On that point, Matt says, I love the reference to quadra testicles. Then it's a callback to the TNG episode where we learn that Klingons have secondary organ redundancies.
Yeah. And on Discovery, when we saw they had two streams when they pee.
That's right.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, yes.
Matt, well, look at Babylon 5. I'll leave it there.
They are quick to sideline Jaden, because this is not the first episode that's happened. Remember when they were doing the laser tag episode and he was like, I don't like laser tag. I'm going to be gone out of this whole episode. So there are episodes they just sort of like shuffle him off, But also, this is our third episode with no Laura Thok.
Oh, now there was one of those 3 episodes. She had a voiceover because she was talking to Reno over the comms. But this is the third one that she has not had a physical presence at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
One quick thing I see a lot of fans talk about on the internet, and it's not complaining, but it's a thing. They mentioned a lot of people still feel that there's not a full Genesis episode, that she's becoming like...
Not yet.
She's important to everybody, almost like a Counselor Deanna Troi. And that's not a criticism. They're like, they want more of her because they just like to see a full episode. And one other thing I have to comment on is Jet Reno is really, really fitting into the show well.
Yes.
Her seriousness, her toughness. I love the way she kind of lovingly, I got to paraphrase, she like Tilly's optimism was basically a pain in the ass, kind of, sort of. But you can tell they've been through the fire together. She really works. She works in the show.
Oh, yeah. And we talked about this maybe last week, I don't remember, that she is in more episodes this season than she ever was on any of her Discovery seasons, where she would only do like 4 episodes a season. And you're talking about 4 or 5, but you're talking about a 13 episode season, 12 to 13. And she's been in a lot more this year, and I'm so thrilled about that.
Yeah. And I had to laugh with the way she was sitting there chilling, and when they were doing their own Kobayashi Maru, she's basically like, get off the bridge. When they the simulator said everybody was dead.
Yeah.
She's
See,
like,
that's
"Yeah, get
that
out."
should have been a Lura Fox scene.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, that's true.
Drilling
Yeah.
the cadets on how to handle a battle situation is a Laura Fox scene.
I wonder if the
And it
actress
made no
herself
sense
is
that
out.
Jet Reno was there.
Yeah, I wonder if the actress herself wasn't available or something.
Well,
'cause-
no, I'm sure it's just that they're minimizing the amount of time she has to sit in the makeup chair because that is a heavy prosthetic.
Right.
They
one
kind
more-
of did that thing with Michael Dorn on DS9
Yeah,
when he
yeah.
came over to DS9. He was like, "You have got to make me not sit in a makeup chair that long every single episode."
Yeah.
So they would have the Worf light episodes that they would film those scenes on an episode that he's in a lot and do them ahead of time, and he didn't have to come in anyway. Long story, but
Armin Shimmerman said the same thing. Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's like
yeah, yeah.
3 to 5 hours. One
Yeah, yeah.
slight nit I had, and I'd said this a couple of weeks ago, even though I hear what they're saying, I still haven't seen the War College deal with stuff that the Academy doesn't deal with. I get what they're saying. Like they're basically saying the War College is too violent for her to go, and she and he says she can't do that again. She'll kill herself. But I've never seen the War College be the War College. I've only seen them in joint missions with the Academy. And the Academy folks are going through the same dangers as the War College. Again, you only got 10 episodes. It would be nice to see the War College. I hate to say it like
Yes,
this, just out there
agreed.
killing and stuff. And they're like, oh man, no
I want-
wonder.
I want a whole episode set in the War College.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we don't have to see our regular characters for 1 week. Let's see what the War College does. I want that. And I'm hoping we get that in season 2.
Right.
Let's see. Bill says, I have a friend who has euphemisms for male and female, tab A and slot B. What do Klingons do with their tab A's? Are there 2 slot B's? I bet there are.
Probably.
Well, I'm sure, as you know from the IT world, there's male and female connectors
I mean,
that's been around for decades.
Humans have 2 slot Bs, so
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Let's not get started.
Yeah. And Matt says they should have had one of their cadets as captain. Exactly. Unless the simulation was a captain dies, but still would be a chain of command and another captain. So
And your
And
medical
they're trying
trainee
to-
is on the bridge during the battle too, because he
it
kept
did
the
seem
word
a
of the
little
button.
more chaotic than it should have.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because there would have been a captain or a first officer or a second officer or whatever.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's the whole point
Exactly.
of the Starfleet.
yeah. Well, we're about out of time. What, have we missed anything in this episode, or does anybody have a final thought they wanted to throw in there before it's over?
Strong candidate for my favorite of the season so far. I say this every single week. I don't have major complaints. I have slight nitpicks. I had very few in this episode. The actors, I was serious. The writing, the directing, and the acting were phenomenal, and they carried it. Just the actors carried it. They read and like you guys said, every one of them had a little moment, even if it was just a look. I was amazed how good this was.
Yeah.
So I have 2 comments. So I noticed Tarima's uniform. She's in the skirt uniform, but it's a one piece, which everyone else you see wearing the skirt uniform, it's 2-piece, which I thought was kind of interesting because it has a different collar and a kind of a little bit of a different cut.
I
and the other
noticed
thing-
that too, but it didn't stand out to me. So,
Yeah. And another thing about Tarima, when she had the drunk scene with Caleb, I really liked how he was trying to be sincere with her and chill, and she was just like basically trying to make everything blow up in her face. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was realistic too.
Yes.
Let's see. Jordan says, I need an Occam episode. I'm from the first episode that he was in with Tarima, we knew that Tarima was going to be a regular character. I'm surprised that we have
He's
seen
been
as
more
much of
regular than
Occam.
she has. Yeah.
Exactly. And I really like him. So I'm glad that he's been around for this long.
That means
I
they're
thought he was
kill
going to
him
be
at
a
the end of
one
season
episode.
1.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be a 1-episode character, and that was going to be it. But no, he's stuck around, and I'm really glad about that.
One quick follow-up on what Veronica said real quick. Every week I've made notes where I say Caleb doesn't seem to sometimes understand and know how to handle Tarima's emotional problems. But then look at how he grew up.
Yeah,
That's also realistic. Because at one point I was like, dude, say something. Like, she's like, oh, I'm a monster. Like, tell her you're not a monster. Blah, blah. He just kind of looks at her and goes, well, I can't seem to say anything right. But that's realistic too. It's not like he has a healthy past.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if
Exactly what a 19-year-old boy would have said.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if what we've seen, the way his character has changed in dealing with Tarima, I wonder if that's going to play into the finale when he has to deal with his mother.
Yeah.
Maybe there's going to be I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
But final thought is this was a great episode.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. When we were in the middle of it, I was thinking, it's fine. It's an important episode. It's doing its job. The second half of the episode just bowled me over.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I swore that was last thing. And Alan, I got to fault what you said. That last, and Veronica, I know you relate to this. That last scene with the cone of light on Ake as she talked and it kind of faded out. That was so theatrical, but man, that worked.
Yeah.
Well, it's Our Town. It's exactly the way that Our Town ends.
That's
that was
right.
another brilliant move. This episode, they're so, oh my God, I love this episode. I'm surprised that I love this episode as much as I do.
I think it's a new classic. I think this is up there with the best of Star Trek. I think they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I agree.
Amen.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Well, Alan, where can people find more of you?
Head on over to cosmiccreative.com, KOZMICcreative.com, because I've got 2 new Doctor Who books out. They've both been selling pretty steadily. And thank you all for the people who have bought it. If you've bought it and you've started reading it, go to Amazon and leave a review. I would have loved that. And the other podcasts that I do. And I was on TV this morning.
What?
I was on Fox 5's Good Day Atlanta. They had me on to talk about the announcement that the Rock Hall of Fame yesterday made the announcement of their nominees for induction in this year's ceremony. So they had me on to do a rundown of that list of names. So,
That's awesome.
Wow. Famous.
Did you wear one of our legal t-shirts?
What?
Did you wear one of our legal t-shirts on the show?
No, baby. I was there to promote my other podcast, Modern Musicology.
Right.
That's awesome.
Is this stuff available online anywhere?
It will be.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Let us know.
I will.
All right. And Veronica, where can people find? Oh, Keith, where can people find more of you?
I was going to say, Alan, he's going to play your clip and Doctor put our t-shirt over you. You can find me on Facebook, primarily the ESO Network Facebook groups. And in a few weeks, you can also come see me at Stellarfest.
Okay.
Yes,
absolutely.
Stellarfest.
And Veronica, where can people find more of us?
Not feltnerdy.com because we're having website problems. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So,
Oh dear.
yeah, they just took our money and
Where can
our
people find
website
more of
gone.
us though?
But Felt Nerdy across social media for our all ages family friendly stuff, and Felt Nerdy and Dirty across social media for our adult content. And we have 2 shows coming up in March. We are going to be in Pi Day Nerdlesque at Red Light Cafe on March 14th.
Doing a Star Trek routine.
During a Star Trek routine.
Ooh.
Yep.
Nice.
And then we're also going to be in, oh no, I lost my post about it that I had saved. We're going to be doing a show the following Saturday at 8 p.m. at Warehouse Atlanta. Probably also doing our Star Trek show again. So you'll have 2 chances to come see our little Star Trek Nerdlesque show.
Mm-hmm.
And more details about that on our various Felt Nerdy and Dirty across social media.
Man, I got to say, this past year, it seems like Felt Nerdy has really blown up, and you guys have been really busy, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And where else can people find us?
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
Yep.
If we ever have another episode again, we need to schedule that.
That's right.
We haven't had one yet this year.
Yep. And do you have a closing for us this week?
Yes. I'm so glad no one used my opening. I'm so excited. Oh no, I lost my notes. Look, I had 3 quotes ready. Okay. Tomorrow we theater.
Yes.
Good job.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks,
Live on Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about the latest Star Trek episode or a legacy Star Trek topic, or after the fact on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform as Earth Station Trek.
And stay tuned. 2 more to go.
2 more to go. Oh, it's going to be fun next week. I can't wait. All right, y'all. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.